You're listening to the Movement is Medicine Show, a podcast hosted by Head to Toe Spine and Sports Therapy, a modern chiropractic and manual therapy practice in Edmonds, Washington. Now, let's get into the show. Welcome, gentlemen.
Hey.
What's up? Guys, how we doing?
Doing good.
Excellent.
Feeling good.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that I was able to track you guys both down today because I have a story to tell you, and I need to get your advice. So, like most of us, like many of us these days, right, working out in the home gym has become the norm. It's the new norm. And this last Saturday, I was throwing it down on a workout, and here's what I had going on. Okay, it was a WOD style workout, and it was a bunch of stiff-legged deads with like a 105-pound KB or something, and a bunch of reverse lunges, and then sprints, and in 10 rounds of that, and like a 2-minute like a sprint for basically like a fast run for about a minute and a half, 2 minutes, 10 rounds of that. So I was doing 15 to 20 reps of the deads and the reverse lunges, right? So it was a good workout. It was fun. It was sweaty. Killed it, by the way. And was feeling fine that day. The next day, though, Sunday, I woke up and I could barely get out of bed. Like, I was able to get out of bed, but then the low back pain just was crippling on Sunday.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? Like it was like I was standing in the lawn taking the puppy out, and I was like, and like almost like fell down just standing there doing nothing.
Just waking up out of bed.
Yeah,
with a bus hitting you in the back.
Definitely not jumping for joy during that Seahawks game, though.
I was not. No, there was no jumping for joy during the Hawks game.
It was a jump-worthy game right there.
Yeah, it was a really good. Yeah, man, Hawks, on fire,
3-0,
killing it.
Yeah.
So I had no back issue, right? On Friday, no pain. Sunday, I cripple, can't move, can't work out Monday. Tuesday, feel a little bit better, and I was doing some foam rolling of the glute area and lacrosse balling of the glute area because that's really where I was feeling it, the glutes. A little bit of relief. Was able to start getting a little bit of workout in, but now it's Thursday, and I'm still in pain.
Yeah.
Right.
So question is, should I have come in earlier? Now, I knew we were going to be doing our podcast, so that's why I waited. But ideally, like if you're listening to this and you're like, oh, my God, that's totally happened to me, when generally should you come in, whether it's a low back thing or whatever?
Well, first off the bat, ideally, when you're feeling that stuff waking up, you're taking that lacrosse ball immediately and going to like those points of pain, those points of emphasis. So like whether that's the glutes, the hip flexors, the adductors, or the quadriceps or QL complex, those are going to be the main spots you're going to want to hit. Whenever you're feeling like low back, like those are just generally speaking the hot spots. So take your lacrosse ball first, try to sort it out yourself. But I mean, like I think Tim and I were talking about this earlier. We usually don't go more than like 2 or 3 days with like pain that's keeping us from doing our daily activity without asking one or the other to help us out. So.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's totally true. I mean, like, I think that 2 to 3 day range is right about where I'd put it too, where it's like, you can wake up the next day afterwards. And I think one of the keys to it as well is like realizing, okay, like what's the difference between kind of that delayed muscle soreness and the difference between, okay, like I actually might have done something to my back, right? And I feel like if you give yourself a couple days where it's like, okay, this hasn't changed, or maybe this is even getting a little bit worse now, like absolutely that second day, that would be a great time to call, make an appointment or anything like that. Maybe even going to the third day, but.
Well, and it's like this, I know that it's not like a structural, like, so I know this isn't like a bulging disc thing. I didn't like herniate a disc or I didn't like break my spine, right? Like I for sure know this is 100% like a muscle or tendon related, type of thing because I wasn't using heavy weights. I mean, I did nothing that could like from a integrity of the structure standpoint damage. But so this is exactly like a soreness thing or a pulling other things and pulling things into a spot where they hurt type scenario.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you definitely shock the system. I mean, that's a lot of reps, like what you were talking about. 10 rounds of about 20 repetitions of any exercise is probably going to leave you sore.
And I haven't done that style of, I haven't hit that many reps on those, especially from a low body standpoint, probably in 4 weeks. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
I mean,
I wasn't prepped to do that kind of volume.
The reps are one thing, yeah, for sure. I mean, if you haven't been doing that type of volume, absolutely, that's going to be a shock to the system, just like Dr. Lee said. And then, as well as for me, when you were first kind of describing the workout, the thing I was thinking about as well is we're going between like movements where we need to be nice and braced, like, you know, the stiff-legged deadlift, like a lunge and everything like that. And then we're going into a very dynamic, like high-paced movement with a lot of rotation in it in the sprint, right? So you're kind of have this thing, and like, don't get me wrong, like a lot of WOD-style workouts are that way, right? You're going between those different type movements, but especially if you're going like, you know, anywhere from like an 80 to 100% sprint, absolutely that's going to be something where it's like, especially with the sprinting, that was going to be my other question, is like, when's the last time you've done some sprinting? Because that's another thing too. I know for myself, if I haven't done some sprints in a while, go to the track and hit some sprints or something like that, my body for the next few days is pretty wrecked.
And I find that with that high intensity running, that almost is always like a trigger for low back issues for me. Then, like muscle tightness, especially in that glute, and with some of like the IT band stuff that you were talking about. Yep. That's when where I was realizing, like, yeah, okay, there are definitely some self care routines that I need to build so that I can course correct. Because I was so sore the next day, I felt like I didn't want to do anything. You know, right. Like even with the lacrosse, I didn't want to like move.
Yeah, I mean, like, just going off what Tim said, I mean, a lot of the movements that you're doing, the lifts you were doing, were very sagittal, very forward and back, whereas the running is a very rotational activity that you're moving every sling in your body when you run. It's the best exercise possible for your body, but it just sounds like you prepared yourself for more of like a strength builder rather than like a powerful movement or like an endurance activity, which for sprinting for that long, that's pretty much an endurance activity at that point. You only get like 10 seconds of that, what is it, the phosphocreatine?
You need that whole pathway there. Yeah,
that whole energy pathway. But yeah, just think about it from that standpoint is like preparing yourself. Maybe if you would have had like a rotational exercise prior to the run, that could have prepared you more for that actual movement.
What about post-exercise? Like if I would have stretched or done some post like... exercise recovery stuff, which I almost always skip.
Right, like for me, like that's most people. Love it. So don't feel too bad about it. But cold stress is the best thing you could do immediately after something that's strenuous, I guess. So like a cold bath or like jumping in the sound, something like that, where you're getting essentially like you're relieving yourself of the inflammation that you just built up from your workout, so that you start from a more neutral standpoint to heal after the workout.
That's interesting. See, that goes against what my kind of gut feeling was, which was I was thinking, oh, maybe I should take like a hot Epsom salt bath.
So the thing is, when you're in an inflammatory process, if you add heat to that scenario, you're going to increase the inflammation. Whereas the cold is going to send that inflammation out, essentially do the opposite. So if you had like a tight muscle and you were just like, you're going about your day and you're just like, wow, this thing just won't loosen up, maybe at the end of the day, like do a hot Epsom salt bath. Yeah. But after activity, cold's better.
Yeah, definitely after activity, cold is better. Now, even for me, it's like, you know, I do a lot of CrossFit, follow CrossFit. You always see like some of the clips of like those CrossFit Games athletes after like a really tough workout. What do they do immediately afterwards? They're all in ice baths, right? So it's like, I mean, especially if it's been a strenuous workout or anything like that, or you feel like, man, like you get done with the workout and yet sometimes you know, right? It's like, man, I feel like I'm going to be sore tomorrow. Like, great time to like hop into an ice bath or something like that. But like Dr. Lee said, if it's something that's like more ongoing, like a chronic type thing where it's like, this has been sore for a while. Yeah, like afterwards, something like that, Epsom salt bath, not a bad idea at all. Yeah.
Okay, so if you hit it hard and you just know, like, oh man, I pushed it, and maybe you start even feeling, because I kind of was starting to feel maybe even a little tightening, just like a mild tightening when I was done. That was an indicator that, I should probably hit it with some cold, like go down to the Edmonds Dog Park and wait out into the...
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, 5 minutes in the sound, that's all you need. I mean, it's worth it. I've done it myself. I mean, there's been days where, like, especially after like big weekend of hiking where you hit like 20, 30 miles in like 2 days, you're just like waking up the next day super stiff. Like, I always would either go to the Sound or Lake Washington, jump in 5-10 minutes, and then hit a bunch of stretching after that.
Yeah, I mean, stretching for sure. I mean, absolutely. I mean, that's the other thing you were asking about too. Stretching, like some like static stretching after that. I mean, fine, open things up a little bit. Definitely a little lacrosse ball foam roller. Try to work some of that stuff out afterwards. Yeah. I mean, even sometimes I recommend to people that happen to have like a like hypervolt or massager or something like that, or like, you know, for myself, like I have like a Compex, you know, like one of the muscle stimulation
the like trigger the
so it's not like a TENS unit, which is mainly just like pain control. It's like, you know, it actually like contracts the muscle in like certain sequences to kind of try to flush some of that stuff out. So if you do have something like that as well, great things to be able to utilize if you have those tools.
No, the only like other side of the coin that I'll go with is like stretching prior to that workout, you probably would have been worse.
Yeah.
So like stretching after the workout, great. But like if you're going to do something powerful, strenuous, where you need a lot of muscle activation, you don't want to lengthen your muscles prior to that.
Yeah.
Maybe use a lacrosse ball in a super tight area if you're not able to access a motion. But to full on stretch like a standard hamstring stretch wouldn't have been helpful for you. So don't think that would have been a better idea.
Okay.
No. Yeah, typically never static stretch before you're going to do something dynamic like that. And I tell people that all the time. Like, because some people don't know that, right? Because they're so used to doing that. They're so used to hitting like those static long stretches. It's like I'm getting things loose before I work out. And it's like, you were doing the exact opposite of what you need to do right now. You need to prep your body for that type of movement. So dynamic movements before you work out.
Yeah. So I think part of it is just that's how so many people were raised, or how PE classes were run. Is you would do that static style stretching prior to doing anything. Yeah. So that's great. So dynamic prep, then into it, then post-workout stretching can be beneficial, and then look at the cold, and then look at also getting in there and flushing some stuff out with some of the various tools that we have.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Your nutrition's going to come into that as well, like something like eating turmeric, or like having like garlic, onions, things that are anti-inflammatory in nature can definitely help you quell some of that systemic inflammation as well. If you wanted to go as far as like CBD or something like that, it's definitely a better option than like a painkiller.
Yeah. What about like bourbon?
Well,
what about battlefield medication?
A little
like
bit
bourbon,
of a bit of vitamin B. Just I'm all right with that.
Yeah, exactly. What about that IPA that I had? Like that seemed to help quite a bit.
CBD is a great thing though. I mean, even like topicals are great, but even just like the oils, like sublinguals, ingestibles, and everything like that. That's something I've been using myself for about a few years now, and I found that like even as soon as I first started doing that, I remember it was like when I was down in Florida in chiropractic college, and I figured I'd try it out just to kind of see. It was kind of coming on, getting bigger on the scene and everything like that. And I think it was like two and a half weeks in, and I remember I saw sometimes like my workouts were feeling better. I didn't feel like I was as sore after my workouts. I remember just thinking to myself like what's going on? Like why am? And then I realized the only thing I had changed, like hadn't changed my diet at all. The only thing I had changed was adding that in.
Yeah,
that was it.
And that was a CBD.
That was a CBD. That was like an ingestible, like a sublingual, drop.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's like there's some great brands out there, but definitely want to find one that's high quality. But definitely that's something that I found has helped myself out a lot. So.
That's just because CBD is a naturally occurring compound in the body. It's essentially a neurotransmitter, but it acts like an antioxidant in the nerve. So it allows the nerve to function at a more optimal rate, which if the nerve is functioning more efficiently, everything else that the nerve controls, which is literally everything, will be efficient. And that includes healing, that includes getting rid of inflammation, that includes a spasm muscle or a relaxed muscle. Mm-hmm. So just having things like that if you have to take it exogenously, if it helps, it helps. I mean, other things that I really like, and I know Tim likes as well, is mushrooms, like cordyceps mushrooms or reishi. Those are really good for anti-inflammatory processes, and also will help jumpstart the liver to help you make more like hormones or whatever you need to sustainably work out over time.
Yeah.
And do you just eat those, or are you like doing like a tea or a extract or something?
So you could do plenty of different things. You can eat them straight up. I mean, like mushrooms, especially cordyceps, are like very well known like throughout Asian cuisines. Reishi mushrooms as well. I mean, you can take supplements like pill form. I do that for cordyceps sometimes.
Same
we
here.
Also have this stuff we call mud water that Tim and I drink pretty much every day.
Preach about it.
Let's
like, go.
Yeah, it's like it's a 4 or 5 mushroom blend with turmeric and salt in it, so it helps hydrate you. A little bit of, I think, chai tea, or is it Earl Grey?
I think it's masala chai.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So just chai. So it gives you a little bit of that black tea. You get like 30% of the caffeine you'd get in a cup of coffee. So it'll wake you up a little bit. But it doesn't give you like that crash feeling. It doesn't give you that drag. It's just all around like probably better than coffee. It just doesn't taste as good.
Yeah. I would say the energy that I get when I take that is like way cleaner than coffee, lasts a little bit longer, and honestly just I enjoy it. I mean, well, not the taste is fine. You can mix it with like some sort of creamer and you're doing fine. But I mean, like, honestly, the energy you get from it.
Do you drink it hot or cold?
Usually hot myself, and I think Lee's the same
hot,
way.
Yeah.
So.
But you mix it with like a tablespoon of that Laird superfood creamer, and it's actually pretty tasty when you do that. It tastes like coconut, like almost like a malty beverage.
Yeah. Plus, then you got the MCTs in there.
Do you blend it?
You don't. Yes, you want to stir
can.
it. I mean, you don't really need more than like a frother, like you
Yeah.
have for like
Yeah.
making creating like a milk of some sort for your.
Yeah, like one of those little frother things.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I
So-
can do it. You can do it with a spoon too. I mean, you
Yeah.
don't get quite as mixed up, not as frothy that way. But I mean, like, yeah, it still
Definitely
works.
keep the spoon in there. You're gonna want to keep stirring.
Yeah, that's true too. Pro tip: keep the spoon in.
Because it settles out.
It does
Yeah.
settle a little bit. Yeah, so you got to stir it up every now.
Yeah,
and
so then you get the sludge at the bottom if you don't stir it.
But I mean, mushrooms are just really useful in general because it's essentially they're probiotics as well. So like it'll fix your gut. It'll help create like those processes of digesting the food and creating energy out of that process will become more efficient as well. All around, mushrooms are probably a little bit underutilized in our society, and we used to eat a lot of them because we were mostly foragers back in the day.
Yeah. No, I mean, honestly, like ever since, using the mud water, like supplementing with some different types of mushrooms, especially the cordyceps, which I do that as well, like Dr. Lee does. It's noticed a big difference in that since I've been doing that.
Cordyceps
Just energy
is
levels
huge.
in general.
Yeah, I mean cordyceps. Just look into like the 1980s Olympics, and like you can find cordyceps articles from like Chinese marathoners, like endurance athletes. It basically inundates your blood with more oxygen. So the more oxygen that's available, the less proliferation of lactic acid that sticks around. Your body processes it faster. You get more energy from it. All around, just massive benefits.
Yeah.
yeah, I'm going to have to check these out.
Yeah, it's good
Yeah,
stuff.
pretty cheap
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's not too bad.
It's
Yeah.
like $15 for like a month's supply of supplements.
Yeah.
It is. I think with supplements, it is one of those things where sometimes you have to kind of pick and choose. It's like if you're going to add a new supplement in, it's like what's going to go because
Right.
you can easily. I mean, you could be spending $500 a month on supplements. I mean, it's so easy.
I just love this stuff because it's natural. I mean, it does so much. Like the one thing does affect so many different processes of the body, so it's just efficient.
Yeah, you get a lot
Yeah.
of bang for your buck there.
Totally.
Absolutely.
All right,
Yeah.
let's check
Yeah.
those out. Did you just get them on Amazon?
Yeah, I mean, we get it from like our provider. Like we have like because we're
Yeah.
chiropractors, we can go through certain sites, so you get little discounts.
Yeah, you guys get the hookup.
right.
Yeah, we have like a medical distributor for that. But
Nice.
Yeah. But I mean, yeah, you can still find them on Amazon. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, for
Okay.
sure. For
All
sure.
right, I'll check those out.
Yeah.
So let's say now, you take care of yourself at home, right? So you're working out like me, you do this thing, you tweak some part of your body, you go through some stuff, you do all the things you're supposed to do, like which I didn't do any of it, but let's say we did some of this stuff, and then it rolls around, and it's now 5 days later, and you're still I don't feel like I could work out. I couldn't do a lower body workout today, and I wouldn't run. Maybe I would attempt like a walk, or maybe I would do like an upper body. But it's like I'm still in pain. This point then is the point where a person should come in.
For sure.
Yeah,
And I would have
without a
said
doubt.
maybe like a day or two before.
I almost feel like I should have came in 2 days ago.
Yeah, but I mean, definitely if you're getting to that 4 to 5 day range and nothing's really changed too much, maybe like even just a slight decrease, definitely a good time to get things checked out a little bit. Not saying, like in your case, right? Not saying that anything drastically bad has happened, but you want to get that inflammation out of there so your body can actually function better so it might not cause further problems down the road.
Totally. Yeah. Well, yeah. And I feel like at that point, you just want somebody to be like, yo, like, we're going to do this and this and this to you. And then here's what I want you to do when you go home for the next 3 days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Because-
I mean, pain's not normal, so you got to address that.
That
Yeah.
is a great point,
You
right
definitely
there.
need a plan to get it. You can't just kind of throw spaghetti at the wall and hope it all sticks.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like it's just so interesting, and I know it's like I know all these things too, but what's interesting is that there's this tendency to just want to procrastinate and just let it play out until it just goes away. I'm just going to wait for it to go away.
No, you're not wrong about that. There definitely is a tendency to do that. I mean, I felt the same thing sometimes too, where it's just like, this will work itself out.
Yeah.
Nothing to worry about. This is
Yeah.
going to be fine. But no, it's definitely a lot better for you in the long run. Even if it's just simple, go and get stuff worked out a little bit. But then especially what we do here, like give you things that you can do at home to take care of it or prevent it going forward as well.
Totally.
Yeah.
Especially if it's like a trigger area issue. Like, and I know that this can be a trigger area for me. It just hasn't been in a long time, you know? So then and that's just the thing with the body. Like you're fine one day and the next it's just like, blam, wrecked. You know, that's where,
Yeah.
And if you have that part of your body where that happens, I think it's really good to, again, it's been years since I've had like a low, like probably like 2-3 years since I've had like a low back flare up. So it's not like any of the stuff is like fresh in my mind that I need to be like, you know what I mean? Like that I was like, okay, what do I do now? that's where it's also helpful to come in and be like, oh yeah, okay, I need to roll here, I need to lacrosse ball this area and this area.
Yeah, sometimes you just need a quick refresher.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
for me, it's like that. I have a certain thing in my low back too that flares up every now and then. I mean, I've gotten it like now that I've kind of progressed forward and like made sure that I've done stuff at home, even with some of the different rehab exercises that we teach patients here, that we do ourselves in terms of some of the functional patterning stuff that we do here. That's really decreased almost to none. Like I haven't, knock on wood, but like haven't really had a flare up at all, like recently. At all, like even with working out pretty hard, like 5-6 days a week, Yeah. So there's definitely ways to work around this stuff. And yeah, like you said, definitely great to get a refresher sometimes, and always great to learn new stuff.
It is. And I think it's like taking a different mindset towards, like you're talking about some of the functional patterning stuff, even some like the prehab, whatever, like the pre and post. It's almost like looking at it like you would brushing your teeth or something. You know what I mean? Like it's like, if you wake up in the morning, you brush your teeth, you go to, before you go to bed, you floss brush your teeth or whatever. And when you have that routine and that kind of like healthcare built in, if you don't do it one time, it's no big deal, right? But by doing it all the time, you prevent all the stuff from happening to your mouth that ultimately is really bad.
Yeah.
And that's the same thing with our body, but sometimes I don't think we look at like these pre and post routines with that same kind of intensity, or that same kind of like just routine type mentality, where it's like we just need to build a routine around this.
Yeah.
Well, ultimately, like especially if you're an athlete that's doing stuff all the time, you just have to recover as much as you work out, and you improve your skills. Like, especially working with sports, you see it all the time where people really take their training seriously, but they don't necessarily take their recovery seriously. And those people are in the office more often than the people that take their recovery seriously. That's just what you see.
100%.
And I mean, working with those sports teams, you see the individuals that do. They oftentimes are around for longer. They're having a more enjoyable time when they are around, and they're hitting their goals. So it's just those little things that might not be sexy in your mind. They might not be like the most obvious thing that you want to do, but they're super important.
Yeah, and it's all about creating a habit, just like you were touching on before, Barry. It's just, like at first, and it's just might not be, it's like, oh man, I have to do my mobility work. I have to do this rehab exercise. It's like, once you build the habit of it, even if it's just a little bit per day, it's this, like you said, with the same thing, brushing your teeth and everything like that, just a little bit every day. I mean, especially if you are very active, huge to do that.
Yeah. The last call out too I want to make on this, which I think is interesting, is like, if I think about, the situation I'm dealing with here, if I were to just go to like a standard, like an old school style chiropractic facility clinic, what would they do? They'd give me an adjustment, right?
Yeah, if you're talking like more old school,
Yeah.
like
Straight chiropractic.
Straight chiropractic,
straight
yeah.
chiro. That's you would go in and pretty much.
And
the
maybe
main
they would-
treatment is just an adjustment.
And maybe they would do the heat pad, which that thing they
Right.
lay the heat pad on you. Maybe they do that. That feels good. I like
does
that.
feel
I do
good.
like that heat
It
pad.
does
But then
feel good,
maybe they
but-
do the blocks under my hips too. That's the other thing.
Yeah.
Like, and then I just lay there with the blocks, and then
Right.
maybe the gun. Maybe I'd get the gun
Maybe a little bit of that. Yeah.
or a manual adjustment.
Right.
Might get a little bit of either one of those, depending. But that's going to be pretty much it.
That's going to be it, though.
It's just
I-
joint alignment.
It's
That's
joint-
all
yeah.
they're really going for. Yeah.
And I would feel some relief.
Yeah, I mean, depending on the condition and
Yeah.
depending on the severity. Yeah, I mean, you could like. Don't get me wrong. Like, we are chiropractors here, so like, I don't shy away from like how powerful adjustment can be. But the difference is what we do here is we just add everything else into it that not only makes the adjustment last longer, but helps your body function better as a whole, and then teach you things to make sure that those things don't happen again. Right.
I was going to say
So-
I just would have gotten part of the solution. I wouldn't
Yeah.
have gotten the whole solution.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, like take it like this: like if your L5 vertebra, that's your point of pain. It's not rotating to the right very well. We adjust it to the right to try to provoke that motion to allow it to occur again. If we don't loosen up the muscles that are counteracting that motion, and we don't show you the right exercises to do to like accomplish right rotation of L5. The chances that adjustment's going to stick is greatly diminished just from that. I mean, can it stick? Yeah, absolutely. It happens to a lot of people where they get adjusted once and they're good for a long time. But oftentimes that's not the key. That's not what's actually going to keep the pain away. It's definitely not going to prevent the pain. That's just a Band-Aid.
Yeah. And that's why here it's like like I said, pair everything else into it that we do here, like exactly everything that Dr. Lee was talking about, just so we can make sure that those adjustments, all the tweaks that we do last longer and just help you function better. Like, and really get down to the root. It's like, okay, your L5 wasn't rotating. Okay, we can adjust that. Fine, you might get that at another chiropractic office. But why did that happen? Like, why is it not rotating that way? Why does that keep occurring, right? We really want to figure out why that's happening and correct that.
Yeah, which sometimes sometimes that's a little bit of Sherlock Holmes action going on there. Sometimes it's a little bit
Yeah.
like Body Detective, to figuring that out and figuring out how are things working together. But at the same time, I'm sure also what seems kind of mysterious, maybe for a person's in their own body, where like I don't really understand what's going on or why I keep experiencing this pain, is actually like a pattern you probably have seen a bunch of times.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, guaranteed.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's the thing. Like you're never like whenever you're in pain, it's like you're not in pain alone. Like there's been other people who've had this issue, who've come in. So don't think you're like some one-off. Like we can figure it out.
Yeah.
Totally. I mean, that's the human condition, right? Like nothing that we can manifest has never happened before.
Right.
Like realistically, maybe it was a thought before and we put it into action or something like that. But the same injuries are similar. I mean, it's not going to be exactly the same, like your low back pain and my low back pain, but there's probably some of the main generators are probably the same.
Yep. Yep. Well, I'm excited. I'll report back on the next show how whatever I do here now from this show when put into practice
Yeah.
impacts the situation and whether I can get back into my daily activity sessions, because I had 5 pizza last night. It was so good.
Ooh,
2
nice.
large pizzas I ate, but they're like small large pizzas. I mean, they're not like. But I need to get back in the gym because I'm already like the quarantine 15 already creeped up on me, so
Hey, all right.
I can't let it turn into the quarantine 45.
You can't eat your feelings, Barry.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm just drowning myself in pizza.
But it does taste damn good, though.
So good, so good. I did work out ahead of time, so I did open up those GLUT4 pathways to pull some of the yummy carbs in.
That's right.
There you go.
All right, guys, thanks for the tips. And listen, if you're out there and something like this has happened to you, whether it's your low back or your shoulder or your neck or your knee or your ankle, man, I'm feeling it. And when you're feeling it for a few days, that's a great time to come in and do some of that self-care stuff. We got some great tips. You guys, thanks for sharing those insights and ideas today. And thanks also for opening the doors for anybody who needs that extra bit of help and needs to get out of that pain and needs to get their plan in place. So appreciate it.
Yeah,
I'll see
no
you guys on
problem.
the next show.
No
Sounds
problem,
good.
Barry.
Thanks,
All right,
Barry.
thanks, guys.